All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new segment. We're calling this the Malarkey Movie Moment. It is sort of like the Malarkey Hour, but a lot shorter. This is where we give our opinions on movies we watch. And I know y'all been clamoring for our movie opinions for years, so we're gonna give it to you. This is your host, Matt, and with me, as always, my co-host is Mr. John.
What's up?
And we have a special guest. We got Mr. Davian. You've heard him in episodes past, and he's here to help us with our newest endeavor. How's it going, sir?
Yeah, doing good.
Okay. All right. So first movie up for the this new segment is the new Mad Max movie, Fury Road. Came out this weekend. It is the fourth installment of the Mad Max series. This one does not star Mel Gibson though, since Mel Gibson went crazy. This one stars John's favorite actor, Tom Hardy.
True.
Charlize Theron, Nicholas Hoult from he was a little kid in About a Boy. Remember that movie
I
with
like
Hugh
that movie.
Yeah, yeah. Remember that movie, David? Yeah, yeah. He plays a crazy guy. So this is the fourth installment in the series. Let's not bury the lead. What'd you think, Davian? Did you like it?
For lack of a better word, yeah.
What
I
what?
thought it was a crazy 2 hour chase scene, uh, completely intense and insane all at the same time. Kind of reminded me of the same thought level thickness as John Wick.
The what?
John Wick,
Oh,
same
okay.
kind of thin plot but all action.
Yeah.
I thought it was great though.
For people who haven't seen it, it essentially that's what it is. It's a 2 hour chase. The whole movie basically is one chase sequence. But it's for people who think, oh, it's just nothing but action. But you know what? It's actually what's interesting about it. That's even though it's just one long chase, it actually has time to really give us interesting characters, like actually 3D form characters. My favorite part about it, I liked it a lot too. My one of my favorite characters wasn't even Mad Max, Tom Hardy's character. My favorite character was Charlize Theron's character. I believe her name was Furiosa. I think she was a great character. And she basically carried the movie. I've read a lot of reviews. A lot of people are saying this is like one of those really great movies for like feminists because they have a lot of strong female characters, and I think that is true. You could sort of argue that it's sort of like discussing the relationships between man and woman. But I don't know. Like I liked it a lot too. Just aside from it had really great action sequences. Probably the best action movie I've seen this year. Probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. So.
This is true for me too. I was completely agree with you on your side there.
Uh-huh.
It was just a record kind of intense action ride and Charlize Theron for I would say Sebastian Tom Hardy. He wasn't given much of I guess words to say throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. He wasn't, and it wasn't his fault. But I think that worked because it gave the female character something to work with.
Yeah, and it showed that this whole world, this universe is not just Max.
Yeah.
It could go on to something else.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, it's still his movie. The movie is called Mad Max, but I think it was smart for them not to have him talk a lot. He's really more observing what's going on around him, and a lot of I guess George Miller sort of I think this would have been a different movie. Obviously, if it had starred Mel Gibson, and originally that was the intention. I think they had come up with this idea right after the third Mad Max movie, the Thunderdome, but they couldn't get it done for many years, and it sort of languished away for all these years. But I think it would have been a totally different movie if it had starred Mel Gibson. I mean, Tom Hardy and Mel Gibson are two different actors. They bring two different things to the table, I guess.
Do you guys feel that the audience was robbed of Tom Hardy's brilliance?
Absolutely. You have to really react to the act on this one. He had very little lines, but however, his action scenes were kind of intense. Some of the things that you really just see everything around him, and he wasn't really as involved in the movie. I mean, it is just like that. It has Mad Max in it, but wasn't really utilized as much. It just kind of was catalyst for everything to keep going, or things start really high or just over the top next thing.
Yeah, but I think that's smart because you could sort of compare. I was reading an interview with George Miller, and they're asking him because like they're asking him where this movie sort of lands in the the timeline and the other ones, and he says, well, it could be anywhere. There's no real timeline to these movies. He compared it to a western where it's just a character living in this world, and you could sort of compare this to those Clint Eastwood movies that he made with Sergio Leone, the good, the bad, and the ugly, those movies, the spaghetti westerns that he did, where his character doesn't say much, but they're showing different stories, and it's sort of they don't sort of line up, but they sort of do because it's the same world, but the story doesn't really continue. It's just the same character, and so you could sort of argue that's what these movies are. It's just this character living in this world, and you don't really have to worry about. And I think that's what made it work. You could bring in Tom Hardy, and he's Mad Max. You don't have to worry about, well, when Mel Gibson was Mad Max in the previous one, so where does this fit in? Well, it doesn't really have to fit in. Like it's his own movie, and that's what made it so. I think so sort of cool. It's a sort of a standalone movie, but it's still within this universe. So.
Hey, I get a question. What was your favorite scene in the movie without giving too much away for people who haven't seen it?
You know what? My favorite scene was actually. I have two. And amazingly, my favorite moments in the movie have to do when they're not in the cars, when they slow down and they're actually stopped. One of them is that, remember that scene? Spoiler alert! I don't think it's spoiling a lot, but there's this one point where after the first chase, Tom Hardy's character is attached to Nicholas Holt's character, and he confronts Charlize Theron for the first time, and they get into that fight while they're handcuffed together. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. And my second one was when they remember when they go through that sort of that dark where I don't know if it was like almost like it was rainy, but it was like really muddy and they got stuck in the mud. Yeah. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. It's cool atmosphere, and I don't know, like it's for a movie that was basically one long car chase scene. It had a lot of time for character development, and it was done very very subtly. It wasn't really in your face, but like by the end of the movie, you actually sort of cared about these characters, considering it was just one long action sequence. And I mean that's hard to do.
I don't know if you recall the Matrix Reloaded. And during, I recall the behind the scenes making of it, they were talking about, they had a 10-minute car chase scene. And then later on, Terminator 3 Rising Machines comes out and says, we have 15 minutes. I'm thinking back to that. Like, this was a whole 2 hours.
Yeah, it was a whole 2 hours. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
6-minute abs.
Can't stop that.
Yeah, I mean, it is great. I mean, it is a 2 hour, like, and the thing is, it has a story. I mean, I think there is a story, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't think I was ever really confused what was going on, but I don't think you're really supposed to really. Even if you didn't understand the story, you still would have a good time. And I think it works on every level. And for me, it's one of the best movies of the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
But you also have one of the scenes that I highlight on my recall was the guitar guy.
Oh yes, we need to talk about the guitar guy. He actually had a name. You know what? I had it here too.
Guy.
Yeah, his name was the Doof Warrior. And for people who haven't seen, there's this one character that all he does is and you know what? And it sort of makes sense to have him, I think, because all he did was he was strapped to these big speakers on his car, and he was just playing guitar while they were doing battle. But if you really look at it historically, they used to do that. They used to do, what was those bugle players that would play before they went into battle? You saw him in the old movies. Like that's essentially what he was. He was those, a bugle player. So.
That's interesting is that this movie is still over the top. Some things are still believable. Like, there's a guy who's playing the guitar.
Yeah, you believed it, right? Yeah, it is ridiculous. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But it makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah, and especially in the universe they created, like it wasn't outlandish.
I was gonna say, obviously I haven't seen it. I'm just here eavesdropping.
Uh-huh.
But is it? You kind of have to imagine that it's a fake world
Well,
to enjoy it.
Well, yeah. With any, a lot of people say, "Well, that's not realistic." Well, the world. If you just buy into the world, it makes sense.
Like a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, yeah. And if you make the world,
Absolutely.
yeah. If you make the movie real enough, and the world real enough in terms of this world exists somewhere, it makes sense in that world for them to have a guitar player playing into battle.
Right.
Yeah. So as ridiculous as it may sound out of context, it makes total sense in the movie. It's like, of course, you gotta have this. You gotta have this character in the movie. It wouldn't make sense without it. So.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of things I've been posting up on blogs, and one of the interesting tidbits I found was it relates to the four horsemen of apocalypse, the post-apocalyptic
Mm-hmm.
movie,
Mm-hmm.
and the three main evil characters.
Mm-hmm.
There are three of the horsemen, and Max is the fourth horseman of death.
Oh, okay.
And it's a good, interesting read. Good old Google search will find that article.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how one of the main characters has no eyes.
Oh, that's
the
right.
other one has no mouth. The other one has what is he missing? No nose.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because one of the characters, he loses his eyes is actually in battle. So yeah. That is right.
So it was an interesting kind of correlation they put on that. Oh wow. Great.
Yeah, it's probably not incidental. I'm sure they a lot of this stuff was stuff on purpose.
It was full of guitars, but not a lot of organs.
Dun, dun. Nice one, John. No, not a lot of organs, John. But yeah, it's I touched upon it a little earlier. It really does if you look at it as you're trying to analyze it, you sort of look at it as man's relationship with the woman. There's even a scene literally where Tom Hardy, remember that scene? Tom Hardy's character literally washes the blood off with mother's milk, like so. Some of it's pretty obvious. It's trying to see how, and especially since this is supposed to be the future, how man relates to woman. And you have these was it 4 characters who are essentially there just for breeding, and
Right.
and you could say that's sort of a comment on how some people sort of see how women are treated in today's society by man.
The men or the women were there for breeding?
The women, like there's 4 women that they're there for the main bad guy. He uses them for breeding.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's these 4 beautiful. I think it's 4 or 5 of them. 4 or 5 beautiful women that are essentially they're just breeders, and they're there for to have his babies.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's Charlize Theron's character is trying to free him and trying to get him to a better world, a better land where she was taken from when she was a young kid. And it's interesting because that community is a matriarchal. You don't see it a lot. Matriarchal community. It's nothing but women, and it's I don't know. Like it really is. There's a lot of strong female characters in the movie, and you don't see that a lot in movies today.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, and I wasn't expecting. That's what's the thing about the movie is that I wasn't expecting what I saw. I thought I saw on the preview. The preview was intense, and it looked like it looks like a good action scene.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out as a good action movie that all the different scenes in there, but it's really just one thing you think about.
Yeah,
and just hits you with a very strong female kind of female lead character, kind of somewhere where a strong woman character can build and go on, which I was not expecting. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, and it isn't forced either. Sometimes you'll see movies that are trying to make the woman strong, but it feels forced, and this one doesn't feel forced. Like you believe Charlize Theron's character's a strong woman, and every woman in that community seems like it's legitimately like they could have survived in the desert. Like they're tough women and tough people, and it doesn't feel forced at all. And it's like then that's the best part of the movie. I always said. I think Tom Hardy's character doesn't really need to have to be in it. Other than the fact that it's in the Mad Max universe, his character could have not been in the movie, and it wouldn't have suffered as much. I don't think it would have suffered that much. I mean, you could sort of say Mad Max's character was there just for be a witness to all these events, and you could argue that's basically what his character. He did a good job for what he was given, but yeah, I mean, the movie really is Charlize Theron's movie, and I could see them if they want to make a sequel, they can make a sequel with her character.
So
Apparently, he signed on to do 3 more.
Is that what it is?
really?
Yeah.
So he has very little dialogue, is what I'm understanding.
Very little, yeah.
That's a sweet gig. No, you don't have to memorize any lines. What was that?
The episode in the Lock movie. He's still in a car.
Oh, Locke. He's trying to say, yeah, this is the second movie that he was just nothing in the car.
Oh,
Nothing
Locke,
but
which is fantastic. No.
But yeah, and you know what? At one point, you haven't seen this, John, but in the beginning of the movie, he was sort of treated as a what did they call him, David? Did they call him what was the name that they used? They're using him as sort of like just blood, like they're using him just for his blood.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty cool. Like they hooked up a IV into his arm, and they hooked up the other end to their arm, and they were just use him as a sort of like a body blood bag, sort of. Because apparently it's huh?
With a blood bag?
Something like that. Yeah, I forget what they called him, but they're using his blood because he has all these. I guess I don't know. His blood was filled with I don't know.
Through this, we will obtain amazing acting skills.
Yeah, no, but they're using him for to replenish their blood. I don't know. It was weird, but for the first I would say 20 minutes of this movie, his character was just that. She was just there for his they're using him as a yeah. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, yeah, you can argue. I mean, this is the Mad Max universe. You need him there, and he's sort of the witness to this universe, so you need him there. But I don't know. I think Charlize Theron owned this movie. Do you remember there's a movie she made about 10 years ago? It was her sort of first foray into action movies. Called Aeon Flux. Yeah, did you see that movie?
Yeah, I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Terrible movie, but I thought she was great in it.
It was bad.
Yeah, it was a terrible movie. I saw that movie. I saw the movie in theaters. But I think she was great in it. So I mean, I think she's a great action.
I was supposed to see that in theaters with a couple mutual friends of ours, and then I couldn't make it.
So you lucked out.
Yeah, so I guess I got lucky.
Yeah, you lucked out. But even in a terrible movie like that, she showed that she had action chops. I mean, I know it's sort of ridiculous to say that, but I think you sort of you need to have certain type of skills to be able to thrive in an action movie. And not every actor has. Even good actors, some of them suck in action movies.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it earlier this year with Sean Penn. Great actor, but terrible in action movies. So,
you said his face looks like a catcher's mitt.
or a mop.
Yeah. A very ill taken care of mop.
So yeah, I mean, it's not a given just because an actor's good that they're going to be good in action movies. But I think Charlize Theron has a great career if she wants to continue doing action movies. She could be a strong female character. I think this character's up there with some of the best women action characters. Up there with Sarah Connor in Terminator, Ripley in Alien.
I mean, I haven't seen it again, but is this movie too out there to get like an award?
Yeah, because I think you know what this movie sort of gets into. Remember a few years back when Dark Knight, everybody was pushing for it to get nominated for Best Picture for Oscar,
right?
And I think a lot of people sort of see summer blockbusters as well. That's the summer blockbusters; they'll make a lot of money, but we're not gonna give them any awards.
Still gave it to the Joker, though.
Yeah, but that's different, I guess. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, one thing I thought was, that set it over the top was the cinematography and the action scene. I mean, that there's so much going on in a segment of action. Your eyeballs are just being desensitized to everything because there's so much things to focus on. Several things being going on a truck. Everything's going on around the truck.
Yeah.
In this one chase, and you're like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
And then they just build on top of it.
Yeah, and you never confused. And that's the thing that's you never lose track of where everything is.
Yeah,
Which one is Mad
like,
Max?
No, it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, it's just something. I mean, it could have easily gone into where it's like it's just a mess, and you don't know where anybody is or who anybody is.
And some of the classic, day for night shit scenes where it's all blue and
Yeah.
it just kind of sets the tone and everything apart from the movie.
All right.
Visually, it was over the top. Action was over the top.
Yeah.
And even the acting, everybody was on their A game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just felt over the top. You're like, what's next? You're like,
Yeah.
what? Who's this guy? Where does he come from?
Right. Yeah. There's
And
no.
then the cars were over the top.
Oh yeah.
It was just nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no weak performances. There's no weak moments in the movie. Like, I mean, and I think the fact that the movie never really slows down helps it too. Like, there's no. It doesn't feel like it's 2 hours. It flies by, and it's one of those, I've always said the hardest movie to make. It isn't an Oscar movie. Like, it isn't one of those like it's gonna win a lot of awards or even a blockbuster. It's making a good, popular movie. That's the hardest movie to make. A movie that's gonna be popular and it's good. You can make an Oscar bait movie that's gonna win a lot of awards, but nobody likes. That's easy to make. I think that's easy to make.
So what they did was they made like Death Proof, except they made it make money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could argue that. Yeah. In fact, I don't even know how much it made. It might have been number one. We're looking. This is Sunday night, so.
It was going against Perfect Pitch, too.
Oh yeah, I mean that is.
I do have a thing for Anna Kendrick, though. I want her.
Oh, John.
Hey, what's...
Actually, you know what? Oh, crap. Pitch Perfect 2 on the weekend box office. Made $70 million. Yeah, Mad Max only made $44 million.
Anna deserves it.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. What's the name of... You know what it reminds me of, but just the preview, because the car stuff?
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that video game that it used to be all crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Davian or you, Matt? Right? That it was just like crazy, and every car had like machine guns attached to it, and all you were doing was driving your way through the desert.
Metal?
Yes, it reminded me of that's what I was thinking when I first saw it. I was like, it's like Twisted Metal, black kind of.
Was Twisted Metal the one with like didn't it have a clown on the cover?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't it?
Yeah, I think it had one of them had.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that-
You could argue. Yeah. It's sort of
I
like
mean, I
that.
haven't seen it, but that's what it seemed like.
Yeah. No, I mean it's over the top, but
I remember renting that game from Blockbuster.
nice. No, but yeah, I mean, even though it's over the top, it works. It's sort of like if Nicolas Cage knew how to corral himself a little bit in. It's sort of like that. Like you could do over the
Nicolas
top,
Cage doesn't get to pick his movies anymore.
but like you could be over the top and still make it work.
Right.
So I mean, this movie sort of skates on that line, but it does it very well. A very good job on doing it. So, like it's one of my favorite movies of the year so far.
I would agree.
Yeah.
It's a great action, but
Yeah.
The last movie I saw before this was The Avengers, and before that, Fear of 7.
Yeah.
This is way better than both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Fear 7, and yeah, I mean, and I liked Fear 7 actually, and yeah, yeah. I mean, this was better. I haven't seen.
Another level.
Yeah, I haven't seen Avengers yet, but yeah. I mean, and considering this is the fourth movie, I mean, very rarely do sequels do well. I think in terms of quality, and this movie really, this one along with the Furious movies are sort of changing that game. Like it used to be, sequels are never going to be good. They're never going to be as good as the originals, and these are sort of saying like, you know what? If you do it, if you're able to approach the franchise from a different perspective, and you don't just make the same movie over and over, you can make good sequels. Especially if you should like working in the universe that you're working in. So
Wouldn't you call this more of a reboot than a sequel?
you know what? It's sort of like it is a reboot, but there's still elements of past movies in it. So you're not really rebooting the series. George Miller had an interview and he said something. It was actually interesting. They asked him what it was, and he says he liked to call it a revisit. Like he's revisiting the universe, Even though
Right.
it's not the same actor, it's the same character. You're sort of the same sort of story, but you're not being faithful really to you could change it up if you need to. So I like the response. It's a revisit, revisit to this universe, and if you make it different enough, it's worth it. So I'm actually excited if they make another one. If George Miller's behind it and they're the same creative team, they have my money on opening weekend.
I'm sure they're looking forward to that.
So so I mean that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Anything you want to say before we end this segment, Davian?
I think I said it all and laid it over the airwaves here.
Yeah. So high recommendation from these two guys. I'm sure John's now excited to go see it. I'm sure he's gonna see it tonight, from our recommendation alone.
How many jalapenos?
It's 1,000 jalapenos for me, John.
Dave, and give it 1,001.
2001.
So that's our review of Mad Max Fury Road, directed by George Miller, starring Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. It is in theaters near you. It's in everywhere. So you should be able to find it anywhere there's a theater near you. And that's it for our first segment of the Malarkey movie moments. You will see more of these. I don't know if it's gonna be every week, but anytime we do get a chance to see a movie on opening weekend, we will record one of these right quickly, and we will put it up as quickly as we record it. Hope you look forward to these segments, and we will be back. We haven't done a Malarkey Hour in a while, but we're sort of retooling on that. So be checking your subscription feed for a new episode that I promise you will be coming up soon. And with that, we leave you for another week, I guess. And we will see you next time we do one of these segments. All right, David, thank you for being on. And thank you, John, for being on.
Sure.
I called him, and he was here in 5 minutes. So
I was in the neighborhood.
And with that, we leave you with that. All right. See ya.